Hello, sunshine. Welcome to my channel, Paying the Ferryman 777, or indeed welcome back if you've been watching my videos already. Thank you. Well done. This is a little bit of a continuation from the previous video. It's called The Antichrist is Not a Person. And in that video, I talk about basically the first half of my trip or mission to Thailand that God sent me on, and how I received a mission through Archangel Michael about the sun and how they're blocking it and how we need to stop that. So this is a bit of a continuation from that. So go back and have a look at that if you want to understand where I'm coming from now. But basically, after that bombshell revelation, receiving my mission, the fun continued, let's say. I talked a little bit about visiting a temple in the previous video because I decided to start visiting a temple every day to meditate, as was the advice from Spirit. So I had been doing that, and I want to talk a little bit about what happened in the next few temples that I visited while I was there. So I went to a beautiful temple there in Chiang Mai where I had already received all this amazing experiences and messages and missions. And I connected again with the spirituality of that temple, with God through that temple. And similar to the last experience that I talk about in the previous video, where I meditate in the temple and connect and start to receive information and blessings and things like that. So it happened again. I went to a smaller temple within the complex of this big, beautiful temple, and I was drawn to it. It had a statue, a very, very real, scarily realistic statue of a monk. It looked like it was him in a glass box, like petrified or something. It was so realistic. And it had a plaque with his story, with this monk's story on it, and I read it, and it moved me to tears. His devotion was amazing. I'll put the picture here. You'll probably need to pause it and zoom in to read it if you want. But yeah, it moved me to tears, and I decided I'm gonna sit in this little temple here, and I'm gonna do my meditation here. So I sat down in front of this monk, this image of a monk, this statue of a monk, of this very devoted monk. So as I meditated, once again, Spirit presented himself, the form of this monk, and I asked him, how can we live in peace and love? And he said, you're going to need to fight for it. And with my eyes closed again, with these visions that I have, I could see him with tarot cards. Closed eyes, and I could see him turning over these tarot cards, and he started to give me advice. And he said that sometimes you need to fight for peace and love. And that made me think a little bit about a line from the Bible saying the meek will inherit the earth. And I think a lot of people think meek means weak, but what it really means is those who know how to fight, those who know how to use a sword, but don't unless necessary. You know, it makes me think of like a martial arts expert or like a Muay Thai fighter. They don't go around looking for fights. They don't go around looking to use their skills. In fact, a good one will always not try to avoid that because they know control and discipline. You need to fight for peace and love sometimes. And peace and love are worth fighting for. In that moment, this beautiful temple had these little pillars in it. And even with my eyes closed, I could still see a kind of a spiritual version of the temple. And suddenly a leopard started to jump and pounce between the pillars. And it landed in front of me and walked up to me. And then it rolled over like a kitten and just like wanted me to play with me. And the monk said that he was waiting to present himself to you until you got here. I was like, well, okay, that's cool. So it's another animal of power or another spirit animal. I have various spirit animals that walk with me and guide me and give me strength and give me power. And the monk said that uh, he's going to walk with you and he's going to protect you and guide you. And he was so beautiful, like rolling around in front of me like a big kitten, but but big and strong, you know. And I talked to the leopard, and he was so cool. We talked a little bit, and then I was like, "Do you have a name?" And he said, "Yeah, it's Shere Khan." And I was like, "That's the name of the tiger from Jungle Book." He was like, "Yeah, I know, but I like it." And I was like, "All right, fair enough." And um, and in that moment, the monk, yeah, spiritually, he put a necklace over my neck. It had a crocodile tooth on it, and he said, "This is further protection for you." And then he showed me another mantra, not a mantra, but a mudra, where if you hold your hands in this fashion, it brings strength and courage. So it's the second mudra I had learned. I had learned one in the previous temple, again from spirit. I'm sure this stuff is available in books and stuff like that, but yeah, I'm not the biggest academic. I prefer to do things by experience, and so I'm getting these blessings, spiritual blessings from the monk, information, and a really interesting point that he made to me was that everything is Maya, which is essentially illusion. And I've heard this message before in the past from other spiritual guardians, enlightened entities on the other side that have said that to me. This whole thing, all of this, it's illusion. And the monk said that it's all designed for your soul's evolution. That's what the whole purpose of all this is. It's for your soul's evolution. And I think that's a good piece of information to know. You know, we ask that question, what's the meaning of life? Why are we here? That's why. To evolve, to grow as a spirit. So we go through all these tests and trials and experiences in this life for our spirit to learn and to grow and to evolve. I think that's important to incorporate into our lives, you know, that everything has a reason. It's like processes. We're going through processes all the time of growth and evolution, and you know, sometimes we repeat them because we don't learn the lesson, but when we learn the lesson, we get to move on, and we continue to grow as we go through our life, right? We continue to evolve if we choose to, right? There are a lot of forces at play that try to stop us from that. They try to stop us from evolving, right? They try to keep us in low vibrational states that hinder our spiritual evolution. And again, going back to my previous video, the mission about clearing the skies from chemtrails and bringing the sun back kind of connects with that as well, because we're in this little battle between light and dark, where the sun is trying to help us to evolve. It upgrades our DNA, and then we have all these forces in the world that are trying to stop us from evolving. Oh shit, it's fixed. So I left that temple with a real spring in my step. I was like, cool, it happened again. Each time I go to a temple, I'm learning, I'm gaining information, I'm gaining knowledge, I'm being blessed, I'm being healed each time I go, right? And I was really excited for tomorrow because I was planning to go to another the next day and the next day to sort of lock in this advice that I got from God in the first temple, which was to meditate more, to connect more, and to calm your mind, to control the mind, which I talked with the monk, the real monk, not a spiritual monk, in the previous temple that I talk about in my previous video. So yeah, I was really happy. It was later that day that I actually went and got my tattoo here on the back of my hand to mark this very special occasion for me, this important trip and mission and all the rest of it. And I was happy too because I was going out that night. Friends I made, that I talk about in the previous video, we decided we'd go out and have some fun, and it was all permitted. I was like, yeah, you deserve that now. You've done a lot of work. You've learned a lot of things. So go have some fun. I was like, okay, cool. So I met this lovely girl that I talked about in the previous video, and we had a joint together, and we ended up going to a karaoke bar later in the evening. And I was like, it's my day off. I'm enjoying myself, and suddenly God says, "You're gonna sing Johnny Cash Hurt." This was a karaoke bar, 2-story karaoke bar. Everybody's happy and having fun and singing and dancing. And I'm like, Johnny Cash Hurt? Shit, that's a bit sad. That's gonna bring the mood in here right down. I don't really want to sing that. I like, no. I really felt uncomfortable. And he was like, no, you need to sing that. Somebody in here needs to hear that song. And I'm like, really? No. Imagine saying no to God. And I was like, no, I don't want to. And he was like, you need to. I was like, no. So I put down the song I wanted on the list, and I sang my song, and he wouldn't leave me alone. Kept putting it in my head. I was like, fuck. And I talked to my friend that I was hanging out with, this girl, and I was like, dude, Spirit keeps asking me to sing a song, and I really don't want to sing the song. And she's like, what song? And I was like, Johnny Cash Hurt. And she's like, oh, yeah, that's for me. I was like, oh, no way. And she's like, yeah, that's for me. That's the song. That's me and my dad's song. We recorded it together, actually. She was a really good singer. She was belting it out in the karaoke. Fantastic. She's like, that's me and my dad's song. So that's for me. And I was like, oh, that's cool. So I went straight up and I put my name on the list, and I sang Johnny Cash Hurt. Like I expected, the whole place went boo. Half the place went boo, and like a few, smaller number of people were like, hey. But it was a little key. It was a little sign for her that, magic happens. God is good. Spirituality is real. She didn't really have any spirituality, and it was the opening that we needed to broach that subject and go deeper into that subject. And by the end of the night, I ended up walking her home, sitting outside her place, and we had a really long discussion. And there was this moment where I wasn't speaking anymore. It was him speaking through me, and he bluntly straight said, "I came here to Thailand for you." And the whole mission to go there was to wake someone up, and she's an important cog in the wheel, let's say. She's an important person that needed to wake up a little bit. So that was a mission, another mission complete. It was mortifying, but I got it done in the end. I met 3 lovely girls altogether that I became friends with, and again, there was reasons for each one. God did tell me beforehand, before this whole trip, he said, each person you meet is important. And I'm like, okay. And like, yeah, how he put it all together is just amazing and beautiful, synchronized, serendipitous. But the other one of the other girls that I had met, we were all hanging out together. She lost her boyfriend, sadly, a year previous. So she was still processing that a lot. Young couple, very young couple. And through my work with spirituality, soul rescue, and all of that, I was able to help her a little bit and just share stuff with her, give her some consolation and comfort and stuff like that. So again, side quest completed. The next day I went looking for another temple, like I had been doing in the previous days, doing my meditation, receiving, and this time I didn't really have any specific temple planned. I just thought I'd walk and find one. There's so many. As I was walking along the street and I would pass a temple, I would ask Spirit, I would ask God, is this one? He said, no, not this one. Keep walking, look around, find another one. Is it this one? Can I go into this one? No, not this one. Okay. Keep going, walk around. Eventually, this happened a few times. Like, no, 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 no. And then I found one. And I was like, this one? And he's like, yes, this one. And I was like, well, why this one? What's different about it? And he said it's a different line, different energy. I was like, okay, interesting. They all kind of look the same, all amazingly beautiful, but like all just different Buddhist temples, right? And the first thing I noticed that was different in this temple was the monks who were outside working and cleaning and doing things. They were all wearing red robes, whereas every other temple I had visited, they were wearing orange robes. And I understood instantly that that's more of a, let's say, left hand energy or a denser energy. The red, from my experience in other, forms of spirituality, the red is well, it's the base chakra. It's the lowest chakra, so it has this density to it. Interestingly, when I went inside to meditate, I was greeted by an old friend, a spiritual guardian, Ishu. He's someone I know for quite a long time, another entity that I built a relationship with. If you want to know more about him and the other types of entities and spirits that I work with, check out my other playlist. It's called My Spiritual Awakening, A Fool's Journey. That's where I share my story, where I go through my spiritual awakening and all the relationships I've made with spirits and entities and all the rest of it. So he's an old friend. It was kind of cool to see him there again, meditating, closed eyes. He appears in front of me and we start to talk. And I'm like, kind of comforted by seeing him there. I'm like, oh, it's you. I'm like, hey. He's badass. He has a skull face and fire eyes. He confirmed the mission that I had received. If you look in my previous video, I talk about how I knew where to go next after this city. I was sent a reel by a friend in Brazil, and it was about this specific temple in another city, about 3 hours away from where I was. And he said, you're going to go, he just started talking. He's like, you're going to go there, you're going to talk to the spirituality of the temple, and you're going to ask permission to work. This temple, it had a cool representation of hell and heaven. It was like you had to cross this bridge to enter the temple. But underneath the bridge, there's all these hands reaching up. It's pretty fucking heavy. But he was like, go there. You're going to talk to the spirituality of the temple. You're going to ask them to work. Can you do your work? And you're going to use it as a portal to drop down and rescue many souls, right? So, on a side note, that's something I do. It's something I've learned to do through my spiritual awakening process. It's something I've done a lot of, which is soul rescue, right? It's like psychopomp work. It's the job of rescuing souls who are earthbound or even stuck in lower vibrations. We go in there and we get them, and we take them up, and we bring them home. I've done this many, many times. Again, if you'd like to hear more examples of that, check out my Spiritual Awakening playlist. I'm still working on that. I'm telling the story, but there's lots of examples. I even like talk about the first time I did it, and I'm still doing it to this day. I did it yesterday. So I sent 2 home yesterday. So he confirmed this mission that I had received. Again, in a very serendipitous fashion. This whole trip was just like faith, signals, signs, following your heart, going with the flow. And I was like, okay, cool. So I'm gonna book a bus. I'm gonna go to that city, and I'm gonna go to that temple. And I wondered how it would be to work, to do my work in such a place. I was a little bit apprehensive, but he also said, and between now and then, no fun, no drinks, no drugs, nothing, clean. After you go to that temple and you do your job, you've got your last few days in Bangkok to enjoy. I was going to fly back to Bangkok from there after I literally going to this other city just to see this specific temple. So this would actually be my last day in Chiang Mai. I had developed a real affection for the place. I had so many great experiences visiting all the temples, connecting with spirit, evolving myself, healing too. It was really, really powerful. I tried my best to help as many people as I could, not only the ones that God wanted me to, the friends that I met and the people that I met, but poor people in the street. It's sad to see blind people, people with no arms, legs, stuff like that. I'd give them some money. It's a little bit for us who earn in euros or dollars or whatever, but in Thai baht, it made a big difference to them. And I tried my best to generate good energy, to give as much as I could during that time when I was there. I helped wake up who I needed to wake up. I helped console who I needed to console. I got lots of videos made, and it was incredibly productive, magical, fun, and I had never traveled like this, with God as my wingman. But I would meet my lover, who I talk about in the previous video, the one God connected us. I would meet him one more time before I'd leave, and we had a lovely conversation again. We talked about our both of our spiritual awakening processes and shared stories, and we laughed. And then I would head off the next day to go to Chiang Rai, which was my next stop, where I would go to this very, very special temple. So as instructed, I didn't drink, I didn't do anything. The next couple of nights I was waiting until I got to Chiang Rai to go to this temple, because I needed to work. We can't really do these spiritual works properly if we've been under the influence of alcohol or too many other things, because it just takes away your concentration, it takes away your connection, and that's why we need to separate those things. It doesn't mean those things are bad, but it just means that you need to do it in moderation and make sure it's at the right time. So I got to this temple in Chiang Rai, a little bit apprehensive about how it's all going to go. It's being built up for a few days. I was in awe by the beauty of it. It's probably the most beautiful building I'd ever seen before in my life. The intricate design. It was covered in little pieces of mirror, and it reflected the sun. It was in this moment when I really, really looked at the sky. The sky was clear, and blue, and gorgeous. My whole trip in Thailand, I didn't see a single chemtrail behind a plane. And I was in big cities, 3 big cities. Bangkok has 2 major international airports. Not a single trail behind a plane did I see my whole time there. I think that was part of the reason I needed to go there. Was not only to get the mission about those trails and bringing back the sun, but to see just how amazing it is when the sun is there. So I walked around this amazing temple 3 times, praying, meditating, breathing, and I finally entered. I sat down, as I had done in all the previous temples, started to meditate, and again, instantly, I'm confronted with the spirituality of this temple in the form of monks. So as my Eshu, my spiritual friend, my guardian, had instructed in the previous temple, I asked the spirituality, I asked the monk, I said, is it okay if I do my work here? Is it okay if I descend into lower frequencies and rescue souls that may need rescuing? And he kind of giggled. And he said, it's not necessary. He said, God has everything in order. It was a test, another test. And he said, your willingness to come all this way, just to work, just to help, makes you deserving. So I started to receive these blessings from the monks in spirit in this temple, in this marvelous temple. Again, with my eyes closed, like I'm seeing this monk, and he had a sound bowl, and he's vibrating it over me. Another monk appeared, and he had a cup, and he gave it to me. He told me to drink it. So again, I'm in, it's a spiritual medicine. I'm just seeing like a representation of it, but I'm doing it anyway. I'm like drinking it. I swallow, and then there was another drink, a second one that was mixed in a bowl. It was more like a bowl. The first one was a cup, and I had to again take the bowl from spirit and drink it, swallow it. So getting these spiritual medicines, these spiritual potions. At least the visuals, the image showed me in a way I could understand that that's what's going on. But I do the motions anyway, physically. After I took these spiritual medicines, I started to feel really funny. I can't say it was good. It was kind of negative, actually. I was like, oh shit, what's going on? And I entered into this process. It was so left field. It was like I was homeless. I was made homeless. I was thinking back to where I lived in Ireland, living with my grandmother. Most of my life I lived with my grandmother. She raised me. And this process started of not having her, not having a home, and feeling homeless. I was like, this is so weird. What's going on? And I started to cry. I started to process all these emotions that were so weird. Like they were so unexpected. They didn't feel like past issues. I've done that to death through all my spiritual awakening process, all my ayahuasca rituals, mushroom rituals, everything. Done that stuff, processed stuff that's from my past. This didn't feel like it was from the past. I was like, what is this? What am I processing here? Is it someone else's? My help? What's going on? And it was in this moment of despair. I was feeling really negative. I was feeling all this conflict. I was feeling so unusual and unexpectedly bad. God spoke to me. He said that when you go back, be ready for conflict. If you thought that you got attacked in the past because of your light, now you're shining even more brightly. And just be ready. I was like, right, okay, no big deal. But just cutting to the future, I would go home after my trip and get kicked out of my house and be homeless. So that's how good God is. He put me through that process before it happened, so that when it happened, it didn't affect me at all. I was like, okay, whatever, fine. Also, he said that you're never going to be homeless. You cannot be homeless because now you're with me. We're together, so you're always at home when you're with me. And I'm like, oh yeah, that makes total sense. And I felt really good then again. It was a bit of a roller coaster of emotions. It was a process. I went there expecting to do my work that I had been doing for a few years already, my spiritual rescue. But that was all just a test. Again, another test. It was just me being willing to do that, to want to do that, to have a good heart to go and do that was sufficient to receive all these blessings, this further connection, strengthening my connection with God each time. So I actually received another spiritual necklace. A monk in my vision came over and he put another crocodile tooth necklace on me, and I thanked them. and I left the temple. I walked around the grounds a little bit crying, processing all these like Japanese people like taking pictures and stuff, and I'm just like like sobbing walking around this beautiful temple. But it was such a powerful moment. It was such a moving experience. It was so healing. But it was healing me from something that would happen in the future. That's how amazing God is. And after I left the complex, the temple grounds, and like finished my crying, I was feeling really happy, super connected, more than I had ever been before. I didn't think it was even possible to be more connected. And I went to a little cafe and I got a coffee and they were selling joints and I was like, "Can I?" And he was like, "Go for it." I was like, "Cool." So I had a joint and I got a nice iced coffee and I sat in this lovely, peaceful Zen garden. It was like the coolest experience because I was just sitting there. I wasn't like alone, but I wasn't alone. I was just right there with God, and I felt at home. And I felt at home every moment since then. It doesn't matter that I'm not actually at home technically or in a home, um, but yeah, I felt at home ever since then. It's surreal. We sat there and I was smoking and we were chatting. We were just chatting and we were laughing. And he was talking with me and he was like giving me all this advice and love, and I could feel him hugging me and I was like, this is so cool. This is so cool. And it was a real beautiful culmination to what was a very, very long spiritual path, a very, very long, what felt like a very, very long, actually only a few years really, but it felt like a very, very long story because so much happened over those few years. It's like I condensed lifetimes of experiences into a few years. It's like I was a star of my own movie, essentially. It was that exciting. But yeah, we talked and we laughed, and I'm just there on my own in a cafe, smoking a joint, drinking a coffee, and laughing to myself like a fucking lunatic, right? But yeah, it was so special. It was beautiful, and it would be my last day there in Chiang Rai, and I would fly to Bangkok the next morning to enjoy the last 2 nights in Thailand and enjoy my birthday. Before I left Chiang Rai, I received a message from my friend in Dublin. He said, I was talking to God and he told me to tell you to check your online tax payment system thing we have here in Ireland. And I was like, why? And he's like, just check. There's a present there for you. And I'm like, all right. So I went online and I checked my tax and I had received a tax return. And it was a blessing because I hadn't planned this trip. I'm already in debt. It was a real leap of faith, not just because of the spiritual mission that I was doing, but also because I didn't have the money for it. And again, that was another leap of faith. It was like, don't worry about it. Just trust me. I'm like, okay. And then before I got to the end of my trip, I checked my online tax thing, and I got a whole bunch of money back in tax that totally paid for the trip and then some. And I was like, yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. And he's like, you're welcome. There's plenty more of that to come. And I'm like, oh, awesome. And I got my flight to Bangkok to enjoy my birthday. I went to a couple of temples. I did a boat trip. Just a few touristy things that I didn't get to do that much of in Thailand because I was working all the time. And yeah, it came to the evening. I was like, I'm going to go out for my birthday. I'm going to have some fun. But I had this niggling feeling. I had this like separation inside me that I was in two minds. Because on one hand, I had done all this work and now it was my birthday and I wanted to enjoy myself in Bangkok. But on the other hand, I knew I had to do something. I felt like I had to do something. it wasn't over yet. So I'm kind of like wandering around these like fun areas of Bangkok, thinking about what I'd like to do, and but also thinking at the same time what I need to do. And I had this like conflict. I'm like, well, what do I need to do, and why do I need to do something on my birthday? Isn't this my fun day, and this my special day? So I had to sit down, and I had to center myself in the middle of chaos in Bangkok Party Central, and I'm like taking a deep breath in, and I'm like, I have some ideas about what I would like to do, but I know God has a plan, and I don't know how they combine. I don't know if they'll conflict if I decide to do something. So I sat down and I centered myself and I took a few breaths and I asked him. I'm like, what do I do? I know you have something for me to do. I was like, I looked then at the sign at a sign on the street, and it had 999 on the sign. And my friend in Dublin sent me a message at the same time, just written, you have something to do, and I'm like, yeah, I know, but it was just another confirmation, all coming together. And I asked God, it's like, I look, I know I'm supposed to be like having fun today, but there's nothing more important than doing what you need me to do. So can you just help me out? Like, what do you want me to do? And he said, follow your heart. And I was like, follow my heart. All right, so I'll do what I want to do. And what I wanted to do for my birthday was go to a sauna. I wanted to swim. I wanted to get in the jacuzzi. I wanted to see nice men and enjoy that atmosphere as a treat. And I did. I got a motor taxi and I flew across the city to this really nice place. I had a pool and like a cafe and like all these palm trees and like saunas and jacuzzis and really nice like rooftop area and cool lighting and stuff. It was a really cool vibe. Really nice place. Lots of hot guys. So I just enjoyed myself there. I was chilling. I was enjoying the atmosphere, and a young lad came up to me. I guess he was about 20, 21. I'm just sitting in the jacuzzi. He was like, I feel like I can trust you and talk to you. Can I talk to you? And I'm like, yeah, no problem. Of course you can. And it's like, ding, 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 ding. This is what I'm supposed to do. So he started to open up to me. And he was like, I don't know why I feel like I can talk to you, but I need to talk to you. I was like, of course you can talk to me, no problem. And he started to tell me about a very difficult, horrible situation that happened to him earlier in that day. He actually got raped earlier that day and robbed. And he was all upset. He was scared. He was angry. He felt stupid. He felt used. He felt like he wanted vengeance and all of this stuff. And I'm like, whoa. And again, like had happened a few nights previous, I stopped talking and God was just talking through me. Just this stuff was just flowing through me. And the dude is just like hanging on every word. It's funny when that happens, when God starts talking like that, people's faces just become fixed on it. It's like they know, their spirit knows that they need that, and their face just becomes really focused, and you can tell that they're listening to every little bit. And all this information, all this advice, all this love is flowing out of me. And yeah, it just culminated in him feeling really good, essentially. Uh, I remember one thing that God said through me. The guy was like looking for vengeance. He wanted to go back to this person's house and like call the police and da da da. And God said, "Don't chase the snake that bit you." And I'll never forget that. I thought that was really cool. I was like, you don't. If someone hurts you, if a snake bites you, you don't chase after the snake trying to understand why it bit you. You go and you treat the wound. Snakes will be snakes. So I thought that was really cool. Anyway, I gave this young fella a little keychain with Jesus on it. And I remember the last thing that happened where when we finished talking, I put my hand on his chest. Again, it was like God was there doing it, and I'm just the tool. And he said, "You have immense value, and you're very important. Take care of yourself." And it was just this really cool moment. And the dude is like, it's like I was supposed to meet you. It's like destiny. I'm like, yeah, that's how it works. and that was it. That was my job done. Finally. And it was like, can I just do what I want now? And I was like, go for it. And I'm like, fine, nice. And I just went out. I got some drinks and I danced my ass off. I had some fun. I met some people. It was just a nice birthday that I had. The next morning, I was leaving to go to the airport. I got a taxi and I'm looking out the window at the blue skies. These deep, clear blue skies, and I started crying. I'm just like, no, I don't want to leave you. I was mourning leaving Thailand. I was like, I had developed attachment over that period. I had such an experience there, such a magical experience. It's the best experience I've ever had in my life. And I cried my ass off in the taxi. Yeah, just looking at the blue sky, noticing again no trails behind planes whatsoever, and the fact that in my country, in Ireland, it's just fucking bombarded constantly with chemtrails. And having received my mission, having been in the sun constantly for like what, nearly 3 weeks, and thoughts of going back into the darkness, back into the clouds. Not just normal cloudy weather. We don't just have normal cloudy weather here. It's been manipulated. And yeah, it broke my heart. It broke my heart. But not to worry. We're going to bring the sun back here and everywhere else as well. Since I came back and got kicked out of my house and there was just so much going on, I didn't have so much time to post the video. I didn't really have the energy. I wasn't even going to do this, but he said I had to. So here we are. A final point I'd like to share was something that God told me in relation to what happened when I got home. The process of being kicked out of my house. It was kind of ugly, but I had been prepared for it, so it didn't really affect me. In fact, it was really liberating. I felt so good. I was like, oh, new adventures, let's go. What has God got in store for me? After everything I'd been through, I had learned just to put my trust in Him. And now I'm essentially asking Him everything. I'm like, can I do that? Should I do that? No, yet. Wait, not yet. No. And like, I'm just loving my relationship with Him. I think it's really worth the effort and the time to look inward, to focus on your healing, to focus on your evolution, to focus on those little parts of yourself that we probably tend to ignore, to resolve them through whatever means necessary. Therapy, psychoanalysis, plant medicine, meditation, ecstatic dance, whatever. There's nothing more important than that work that you do on yourself. As you clear your shit up, as you balance yourself, as you deal with your traumas and connect more and more with who you truly are, with God, with Spirit, pray, meditate. All of those things bring you closer and closer to Him, closer and closer to the truth, and closer to love. And living in that state is so freaking good. So I'd highly recommend it. And thanks so much for listening. This video is a little bit longer probably than my normal videos, but I had a lot of stuff to cover. You happy? So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. Like and subscribe and share whatever you do. And God bless. Let the sun shine. I love you.